If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, sound bath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Buying a car shouldn't eat up your week. That's why Carvana made it convenient. Car buying that fits around your life, not the other way around. You can get pre-qualified for an auto loan in just a couple of minutes and browse thousands of quality car options, all within your terms, all online, all on your schedule. Turn car buying into a few clicks and not a full week's endeavor. Finance and buy your car at your convenience on
Carvana.
Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
EVO.
This series contains adult language and depictions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised.
So usually we start the podcast and I ask Jeff a question, but we realize that he won't have an answer to this question.
No, I won't.
Yeah. So we decided to bring some experts in on the subject of our podcast today.
We've never met them before. They're experts on the subject who we called and brought in for an interview.
Yeah. So that's my daughter, Veronica.
Hello.
My wife, Suzanne.
Hello.
And my sister, Robin.
Hello.
All right, so tell us some fucked up shit you did to dolls.
Okay, well, I would draw on their faces like everybody else did. But
This
that
is my
was just,
wife talking. Go ahead.
That was just normal. But having an older sister who liked to torment you and make you cry all the time, she would take my dolls and she ruined every single doll I had. She took all my Barbies. She took my favorite dancing ballerina doll. I had just gotten it and the bangs were lopsided. She also then took it a little further and did it to me after she did it to the dolls. And I had no bangs for a really long time. So I just let her do it because I don't want her to beat the shit out of me.
You have a shark Barbie story.
I do. During COVID, I decided to make this shark movie based on,
Yes, you do.
yeah, as one does, on Donald Trump.
Oh, God.
And Kim Jong-un. It was Jaws recreated. So I bought the shark. It was super cool. And I had the little dolls of Trump and
The troll
Kim.
dolls.
The troll dolls. But then for Ivanka, I went to the store and got the cheapest Barbie I could because I knew I was going to do bad things to it and didn't want to spend the money. And of course, she's at the very first scene of Jaws, and I had to pull her down by the shark and pull her down.
So when is this movie coming out, wife?
I hope soon. I just don't want to be arrested.
Instagram near you.
Yeah. And so I had to take her leg off for one scene because there was a scene where there was a leg, floating in the water. She just got mutilated.
So you dismembered this Barbie.
Dismembered by the shark. Good. So it was fun.
Go ahead. What did you do to your Barbies, Robin?
I never did anything bad, although I did make Barbie and G.I. Joe. Ken and G.I. Joe and Ken would fight over her, but I did press them together. It was before I even knew what sex was.
Wait,
so they would
you
kiss.
pressed who together?
Barbie and G.I. Joe.
Right.
Together.
Not G.I. Joe and Ken.
No.
Yeah, no. They would fight.
That was later.
Yeah. I literally would just press them together naked, and but I didn't know what that was or anything. But they were kissing.
Do you remember Jeff playing with G.I. Joes?
No.
He doesn't remember.
No, I don't think I had any.
I think he blocked it out.
We were trying
to.
No, I was trying to figure out where you got a G.I. Joe to have Barbie sex with.
Because girls bought G.I. Joe.
You did?
I had an Evil Knievel doll.
That's right, yes.
All right, so we got our daughter here. I know we bought her every freaking Barbie.
Yeah.
What did you told us a little story the other day.
Okay, so I did a lot of things to my Barbies. I had a life-size Barbie, which actually was probably a little bigger and taller than me at the time.
At the time, yeah.
And so
I don't remember that.
Fucked her up. I cut her hair up.
But she
I
fucked
drew
you
all
up.
over her. I gave her tattoos.
Now we're getting
I blacked out her teeth. And then I saw her standing in the corner of my bedroom at night when I woke up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And she terrified me.
What did she ever? When you saw her, was she in the right place?
She
didn't move, but she was glaring at me like, why did you do this to me? And I freaked out. I screamed. My parents had to throw it away.
I heard a call-in radio show once. This randomly stumbled on it, and it was hosted by a woman, and other women were calling in to talk about the horrible things like burning their faces with cigarette lighters. And did you guys ever engage in any?
I just remember Aviv, my niece, who was a very sweet girl. She was, nice and perfect, like the perfect little girl. I one time walked by a doorway and saw her in a room with all her Barbies, banging them on their heads on the floor and yelling at them and like pulling their heads off and stuff.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
I think Barbie became therapy for young girls, like to get all their anger out. Like if they were mad at their parents or their siblings, they would bash the Barbie's head in against the floor.
We dragged one from a car after seeing Napoleon Dynamite when he drags the action figure out of the bus. Like me and my friends wanted to do that, so I think we took like a Barbie or some kind of doll and dragged it out of the car.
So thanks so much for coming in today, ladies, and telling us all the horrible shit you did to your dolls. Jeff, why are we talking about dolls today anyway?
Well, we're not talking about just any doll. We're talking about a doll that's associated with one of the most notorious unsolved crimes in American history.
Hi, I'm Bruce.
And I'm Jeff. Welcome to Taboo Treasures, a weekly podcast that explores the human obsession with gathering and collecting not just objects of value, but objects of extreme rarity and infamy.
Today's episode, If Barbie Could Talk. So we're going to start out with a little history of dolls for you. Most historians agree that the earliest dolls were called paddle dolls, and they were painted pieces of flat wood with long flowing hair made out of string, clay, or wood beads. They were found in Egyptian graves as far back as 3000 to 2000 BC, and some authorities say dolls had religious meanings and that the religious dolls came before toys.
Yeah, and the first examples of dolls that were actually used as toys by little girls come from ancient Greece in about 100 AD. Some of them had movable limbs that could be worked by strings or wires. And in ancient Rome, dolls were sometimes buried in children's graves if they died before they got married. Nice.
In some cultures, dolls were considered magical and too full of dangerous powers, so kids weren't allowed to even play with them. A lot of us are familiar with the porcelain dolls that became popular in the 19th century. Those are the ones that really freak me out.
Yeah.
Those ones. But by the 20th century, dolls were being made for an adult collector's market. But even up to the early 1800s, dolls were made to represent adults.
Slaves made rag dolls for their kids, but the earliest black dolls with realistic features weren't made until the 60s, which is kind of hard to believe, but not.
Mama, I once had a doll.
And in the 20s, mama dolls had voice boxes sewn into them, and actually, when you tilted them back, they said, Mama, Mama. Yeah, horrible. And in 23, 80% of all dolls sold to kids in the U.S. were mama dolls. Then in the 30s, the first celebrity dolls started to show up. I think Shirley Temple was one of the most popular, and the first collectible based on a licensed character was the Scarlett O'Hara doll from Gone with the Wind.
So now we're going to talk about a doll we take for granted, but it has an interesting history.
My teddy bear has one nose, one nose, one nose. My teddy bear has one nose. I love my teddy bear.
If you didn't already know, there would be no such thing as a teddy bear without Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president. In 1902, he was on a hunting trip. Evidently, he didn't get a bear. Everybody else got a bear. So his assistant cornered one and tied it to a willow tree so Roosevelt could shoot it. But Roosevelt was so appalled at how unsportsmanlike it was that he refused to do it. He refused to kill the bear. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for
So,
Teddy.
a political cartoonist named Clifford Berryman teased him in a couple of cartoons he did for the Washington Post for not shooting the bear. And a candy shop owner in Brooklyn, of all places, this guy Morris Mictum, saw these cartoons, and he got his wife, who made stuffed animals, to make a stuffed toy bear and dedicate it to the president who refused to shoot a bear. And he called it Teddy's Bear.
Roosevelt actually gave Mictum permission to use his name, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And there was such a massive hit that Mictum founded the Ideal Toy Company that became one of the biggest toy doll companies in the world. But of course, there's always some fucking crazies out there who hated the bear. In 1907, a reverend, because of course it was a reverend, Michael Esper, called them a bundle of horridness, disgusting and pseudo-animals. I mean, they were pseudo-animals. Was that bad? It was a fucking bear.
Yeah, a sociologist named Edward Ross got in the game. This guy was one of the early proponents of the Great Replacement Theory. And at the time, God, his totally normal take was that teddy bears would lead to fewer children being born, which would destroy the hope of all nations.
I mean, this guy would make Tucker Carlson blush. In a nutshell, emphasis on nut, he said that little girls bonded with dolls to learn about caring and nurturing a baby and to get the feeling of motherhood, and that a teddy bear is committing a monstrous crime because replacing those dolls would be a factor in the race suicide problem. Was there a race suicide problem?
Evidently.
What the fuck does that mean?
No idea.
It's a little teddy bear.
Yeah, actually, this guy probably wouldn't make Tucker Carlson blush.
And it's no surprise that there were a lot of prominent Americans at the time who agreed with Esper.
Of course.
Yeah, at church. And these people were a hell of a lot more of a danger to society than a stuffed animal. But happily, they're all dead now, so fuck them. Of course, there were plenty of Teddy supporters, including dozens of prominent educators, and as time went by, teddy bears got so popular that they became one of the most important, enduring dolls in the world.
It's impossible to cover all the dolls that have been significant in history, culture, and even in science fiction, so we chose a few of our favorites. We're going to jump around a bit, but we'll start with one that almost everyone knows. Voodoo dolls are a great example of a culture that's been co-opted by the West. But voodoo isn't a cult. It's a religion that's been practiced for centuries and used for communication and healing all over the world. In the U.S., voodoo was brought over by slaves, and it combined ancient African traditions with Roman Catholicism.
Marie Laveau, a free black woman in the 1800s, became one of the first well-known practitioners of voodoo in the U.S. In 1901, a voodoo doll was found near her mausoleum in Louisiana, and she became known as the Voodoo Queen. There's actually a song about her.
Yeah.
Today, there's actually a Marie Laveau museum in New Orleans that became a tourist attraction. Those small effigy dolls that we associate with voodoo are used for a lot of things, but the idea of sticking pins in them for revenge or unleashing evil spirits didn't really become a mainstream view until around the mid-1950s, when they started showing up, of course, in horror movies.
Of course. There's a high priest of voodoo in Louisiana, a guy named Robbie Gilmore, and he said, this is a quote from him, "Hollywood really did us a number. We do not stab pins and dolls to hurt people. We don't take your hair and make a doll and worship the devil with it, or ask the devil to give us black magic to get our revenge on you. It is not done. It won't be done. It never will exist for us."
Bummer. All right, we're going to talk about haunted dolls for a minute here. There's a lot of them out there, but we chose to focus on just two. The lore is that a young man bought Okiku as a gift for his sister sometime around 1918 in Japan. Long story short, after the kid who owned it died, its hair kept growing. Then in 1938, a temple got a hold of it and the hair was still growing. And this is true. There are even all kinds of theories about how it's growing, like materials drying out or the glue is shrinking. But whatever the reason is, the hair is still growing.
That's what they say. The next doll is a legend. His name is Robert. Well, it's Robert the doll.
Yeah.
And some people think he's the creepiest doll ever. In the early 1900s, Robert was a gift to a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto. The boy was obsessed with the doll and even blamed it for things he did, which I can relate to. Mm-hmm. His parents said that the thing sometimes seemed to change positions on its own, and that when their son was alone in his room, they could hear him talking to the doll, but then they heard Robert responding in a completely different voice. In 1974, Robert found his way to the East Martello Museum in Key West, and visitors who've taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune as a result of their transgressions. I don't know what that means, but we've seen pictures of Robert and we wouldn't fuck with him.
Don't fuck with Robert the doll. Most of you are probably familiar with the movie dolls out there, but we wanted to cover a few of our favorites. There's a zillion dolls that have starred in movies since the 40s, but the very, very first movie starring a bad doll is called The Doll's Revenge, and it's creepy as hell. Jeff, we watched it the other day. You have to watch it.
It's awesome.
It was made in 1907, and the effects and the techniques it used were way ahead of its time. It's only 3 minutes long, and you can find it on YouTube, and it's definitely worth the time.
The next doll is Hugo from the 1946 film Dead of Night. And this one's significant for being one of the first movies to star a bad doll. The plot's a bit complicated, but basically Hugo was a creepy ventriloquist dummy. Not that there's any other kind of ventriloquist dummy, but Hugo bit someone and also could speak on his own. So eventually the ventriloquist who owned him started speaking in Hugo's voice, and so he smashed him up and ended up in a mental institution.
So this next one is a ventriloquist as well, Bill, and he's no Hugo. The Saw movies put people in horrible conditions and terrifying situations. Bill communicates instructions on video and in person, and sometimes even congratulates them. This is way worse than it sounds. I've never seen one of these. You've seen one?
I saw the first one, yes.
There are 10 Saw movies so far, which again shows how popular terrible dolls are, at least as long as they are fictional.
Annabelle was a real Raggedy Ann doll that was said to be haunted, and she's become famous now for being the direct inspiration for the Conjuring movies. In the film series, Annabelle was originally given to a young nurse named Annabelle Higgins, and then Annabelle was later killed in a car accident, and her spirit took over the doll. The real Annabelle doll ended up being given to a nurse in the 70s, and the real paranormal investigators, who were played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga in the movie, had an occult museum, and they kept Annabelle in a glass case until it closed, and now Annabelle goes on tours.
I wonder if she's got roadies. She's got an entourage and a tour bus.
Assistants.
Yeah.
Chef.
And probably the scariest one of all is Chucky, probably the best known and most copied movie doll of all time. Basically, a widow gave her 6-year-old son a doll for his birthday. But since voodoo was used to transfer the consciousness of a serial killer into Chucky, it turned out to be not such a great gift, but definitely a great movie that, of course, spawned its own universe of sequels.
The last one on our list is Megan. The first Megan movie came out in 2023, and we liked it a lot. It's important to have her on this list because she combines the creepiness of dolls as we know them in movies with science fiction. The story is that a robotics engineer becomes the guardian of her young niece, and she creates this very, very lifelike, life-size doll to keep her company.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well,
she was scary.
Well, not at first. At first, She seems like this miracle of AI and robotic technology, but then it turns out, not in a good way. If you've ever seen Megan dance, it's not something you can unsee.
I see it now.
If you had a Barbie or a G.I. Joe or any other kind of doll as a kid, what's the worst thing you ever did to it?
We'd really like to hear about that. So please email us at tabootreasures@evocreative.com or message us at Taboo Treasures on Instagram and TikTok.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
This episode is brought to you by Espolón Tequila. Slow, sticky, snoozy. They call these the dog days of summer. But Espolón? They don't do boring. Welcome to the Marg Days. Espolón Tequila. 100% blue Weber agave, born to shake up your summer. Just add lime, agave, and a little attitude. Visit EspolónTequila.com. Espolón Tequila, 40% alcohol, volume 80 proof. Copyright 2025 Campari America, New York, New York. Drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. Podcasts follow us everywhere. Whether you're cooking in the kitchen, chilling in the living room, or pretending to fold laundry in the bedroom. And with Wayfair, every one of those rooms can tell a story of its own. Their curated collections of furniture styles and prices make Wayfair the trusted destination to turn your home into your happy place. Shop everything home at wayfair.com with free and easy delivery straight to your door.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox is coming to Hulu. In 2007, Amanda Knox was studying abroad in Italy. She had no idea her dream would turn into a nightmare. Inspired by the actual events of her wrongful conviction and 15-year fight for freedom, watch the new Hulu original series, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, on August 20th. Streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
There are 4 more dolls we have to mention because they were huge cultural phenomenons. In the early 80s, it was the Cabbage Patch Kids, and in the 90s, it was Beanie Babies, Tickle Me Elmo, and Bratz. And they all had 2 things in common. The first is that they created an insane feeding frenzy.
Oh boy, that tickles.
Tickle Me Elmo is the hottest thing this Christmas. Sold out of stores everywhere. But is it all just marketing and media hype? Here's Jeffrey Kaufman on Elmo Mania.
No wonder he's laughing. All the way to the bank, because North America has been gripped by Tickle Me Elmo hysteria. Just ask them in Fredericton at a local Walmart. And one of the clerks was sent to hospital after being trampled in the frenzy.
Somebody in the crowd yelled, "There's the Elmos." And they rushed us.
Holy shit. I mean, grown men and women were charging the aisles at Toys R Us, throwing each other out of the way to get to these things. If you could get your hands on one, you were a hero to your kids. If you weren't, you were a loser. People started buying and selling them. At one point, they were worth a small fortune. I remember somebody bought one for like $39 and sold it for $1,500.
Oh, it was crazy. And the other thing they had in common is that not long after these crazes, they all became pretty much worthless. The whole thing's a great lesson in the power of marketing, but there are some interesting exceptions. The most insane one is Princess the Bear. It was made to commemorate Princess Diana's charity work. Very, very few were made, and there's an example that had some kind of a rare tag.
They had these weird tags on them.
Yeah, it was listed on eBay for, if you can imagine, $1 million.
Yeah, the one my wife bought wasn't that one.
Unfortunately, yeah. And that brings us to the star of today's episode.
Barbie, you're beautiful. You make me feel my Barbie doll is really real.
So there isn't much we could add to the Barbie lore. There are people who spend their whole lives writing, cataloging, collecting, repairing, blogging, and searching for everything in the Barbie world. Barbie isn't just a doll, she's a universe. But when we were researching for this episode, we learned the damnedest thing about her.
And we'll come back to that, but right now, we've got a list in no particular order of some of the Barbies that became notorious over the years for being discontinued. The first on our list is Video Girl Barbie. This doll had a video camera on her chest and a screen between her shoulder blades, and you could download the video that she shot, and they discontinued it because they were worried that it could be used to make child pornography. I would just point out
it probably was.
It was used to make child
Sadly, it probably was.
Somebody did.
Yeah.
The next one is Earring Magic Ken, and I guess just because he had an earring.
So he had an earring, so everybody with an earring is gay.
Right. And also, and being gay is bad.
Right. It's unreal. So here's one of our favorites, Sugar Daddy Ken. Sugar Daddy Ken was released in 2009, part of the Palm Beach line. It came with a suit, swim trunks, and a dog.
And a daughter, right?
And well, they say he had a daughter.
His
daughter's name was Sugar.
So?
But that still doesn't justify the name.
No, his daughter was named Sugar. So
So all these guys in suits are in the boardroom and they're like, oh, we got an idea for a doll, Sugar Daddy Ken.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Sugar Daddy Ken.
Like none of these dudes ever heard the term Sugar Daddy. Oh, God. And then another one that was obviously discontinued was Growing Up Skipper. Imagine the boardroom again. This doll was introduced in 1964 to show a girl's journey through puberty. It was discontinued after 10 years, so it was around for 10 years.
I think it's shocking.
Not bad. And then another questionable one was Pregnant Midge. Pregnant Midge was pulled from stores in 2002 due to concerns that it promoted teen motherhood.
It was a doll that promoted teen motherhood. Yeah.
She was Barbie's best friend. They were teenagers.
Back to the boardroom.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. The last Barbie on our list is Hello Barbie. She was designed to record and store conversations with children, which seems innocent enough, but of course the adults went right to, surveillance and data breaches. So, although, anyway, Mattel got nervous and pulled it in 2017.
By now, most people, especially if you saw the movie, which we loved, know that Barbie was created by a woman named Ruth Handler, the co-founder of Mattel, and named after her daughter, Barbara. Ruth saw Barbara playing with paper cutout dolls and wanted something better for her, and thus was born Barbie, who made her first appearance in 1959 at the New York Toy Fair.
But not so fast. In the mid-50s, there was a tabloid newspaper in Germany that actually is still one of the most popular newspapers in Europe. It's called Bild, B-I-L-D, which translates to image or picture. When it first opened its doors, Bild commissioned a comic starring a character named Bild Lily. Lily was a high-class call girl with long blonde hair, long legs, pouty lips, and heavy makeup. They didn't mess around in those days. She was described as a money seeker, exhibitionist, and quick-witted girl who enjoyed the life and protection of rich older gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was their idea at the time of the modern, independent, sophisticated girl.
In 1955, Bild Lily got her own doll, and she was a huge hit. But it was mostly men who bought her and traded her because she became sort of a sexy gift for bachelor parties and that sort of thing. Apparently, some boys gave Lily dolls to their girlfriends to get them to dress more like her. Yeah, the good old days.
Anyway, a year or so later in 1956, an American woman was traveling through Europe with her family, and she saw a doll in a window in a toy store in Lucerne in the Swiss Alps. She thought it was really cool, so she went and bought a few of them to take home, and her daughter just loved playing with them. The woman was Ruth Handler, the dolls were Bild Lily, and they looked almost exactly like the Barbie Handler would create a couple of years later.
The plot thickens. So we were blown away when we found this out, and the women in our lives didn't know a thing about Bild Lily. Not my daughter, not my wife, not Jeff's sister.
No.
But when we started to do a little research, we saw she's all over the place. People trade her, collect her. She's even on Etsy and eBay. So did you guys know that Barbie was basically a ripoff of a German call girl doll? It's pretty kind of cool. Even if there was a question about this, and there isn't, the fact that Mattel bought the company that made Bild Lily in 1964 and shut down production is all you need to know. If this is new to you, you have to Google image them side by side.
Lily even had her own feature film in 1958, and it was directed by a guy named Herman Leitner, who directed 44 movies and 33 TV shows. So he wasn't just some hack. And it starred a Danish actress who was this sort of a pinup girl in the 50s called Anne Smyrner. It's a comedy crime movie, and the English translation of the title is Lily, a Girl from the Big City. The artwork is really cool. We haven't found a way to watch it yet, but we're working on it, and we'll let you know if we do. And in the meantime, if anybody has any more info, we just love to find it. But it wasn't all Malibu beach houses and pink passport glamour vacation jets.
For years, society has been pretty hard on Barbie because of her unrealistic proportions. Parents got concerned about the potential harm she can do to a little girl. Body dysmorphia awareness shed a different light on Barbie. Her effect on little girls was the subject of an in-depth article in Scientific American as recently as around the time the movie was released. And of course, there's a gazillion billion different Barbies for everyone. But unrealistic expectations still scream at kids from every corner of the internet.
And of course, it's all a symptom of the Instagram type of picture plastic, perfect beauty disease. But the good news is that new Barbies are helping women and kids of all ages with body positivity and a more healthy set of expectations. The bad news, of course, is that AI is about to destroy all that, but we'll talk more about that after our robotic masters have made humanity obsolete.
Yeah. So there's an actual term used by psychologists called the Barbie doll syndrome. There's a few notable examples, but probably the most striking example of someone trying to attain the perfect Barbie look is a Ukraine model named Valeria Lukyanova. She's claimed to only have done her boobs, but
no.
Google her. I mean, no. She's done everything.
She looks like she's had 2 ribs removed.
Yeah, at least. And I guess people get butt implants now.
Yeah, I don't know if she did.
No. Well, Barbie doesn't have a butt.
But yeah, butt implants. We should probably do, no, maybe not a whole episode.
You think there's a collectible butt implant out there?
Well, they have, a lot of times women change their minds and have them removed.
I know.
So maybe there's a celebrity butt. Well, I don't know if that's something people really collect. We could start. And then what about the
guy?
Yeah, the Ken guy, Justin. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Justin Jedlicka.
Yeah.
Yeah. He calls himself the Human Ken and claims to have spent $1 million on 1,000 plastic surgeries.
I mean, what does this guy do for work?
I just know.
It wasn't long after Barbie's debut that the first beauty pageants were held for what was essentially children. Kids didn't want to just play with Barbie, they wanted to be Barbie. The Little Miss America pageant for girls 13 to 17 started in the 1960s in Jersey. But by 1964, there were over 35,000 kids participating in these pageants. And that's when the pageants were divided by age. By 1995, there were pageants for children of all ages, and we mean all. We don't want to spend too much time on this, but at least one pageant had an age group of 0 to 1. Not sure how to process that.
Toddlers and Tiaras first aired in 2009 and ran for 5 seasons, and it probably did more to expose the insanity of these pageants than any other single thing. It was one of those train wreck shows that America loves so much, but this one had real victims. And not to be alarmist and say all the kids were damaged by these things, but are the risks really worth it? And, who are they worth it to? Or maybe these mothers were maybe consciously or unconsciously using their kids as living stand-ins for the dolls they played with when they were kids themselves.
And Honey Boo Boo was the show's biggest star. She was a terrible example of a child who was leered at by voyeurs with their own issues hoping to get a glimpse of disaster. Her family was a big part of the carnival, too. But apparently she's graduated high school and is planning to study neonatal nursing in Colorado. So somehow she seems to have made it out alive. And we hope that's true and wish her the best.
And now finally to our collectibles list. You do not want your children playing with these dolls. Imagine your kid coming into the house and telling you that your $300,000 Barbie just went for a swim.
Or she cut her hair. Or
pulled
her limbs off.
Yeah, and maybe in a couple hundred years, these are the dolls that will be creepy and haunted like the old ones now, because they'll have watched a lot of rich people die.
So here we go. 10 of the most expensive dolls we could find. We left out the ones that are valuable because of jewelry and collaborations with luxury brands, and we've included action figures and stuffed bears. Number 10 on our list is the Mego Elastic Batman. Mego made only 2 of these in 1979 and got sued out of business for being too similar to the Kenner Stretch Armstrong. One of the 2 sold at auction in 2006 went for $15,000.
Next up at number 9 is the signed Bibi Mothereau doll. These things are old and rare. They were created by a Frenchman named Alexandre Mothereau in the 1800s. They're weird-looking things with strange proportions, and he didn't make very many. The signed one was sold for $18,500. Then number 8 is the G.I. Joe Manimals Vortex figure. Manimals were a subset of the G.I. Joe Star Brigade collection, but they never made it into the stores. There were 6 figurines in the set with the greatest names: Spasma, Vortex, Zigzag, Iguanus, Slithor, and Warwolf. And they all had Transformer-like abilities to change shape. Somehow some of these things made it out into the world and landed on eBay, where a Vortex sold for $20,000.
Number 7 on our list is the original Superman action figure. Collectors don't recognize G.I. Joe as the first action figure. They recognize the original Superman by the Ideal Toy Company in 1939, and that was the company that Teddy Roosevelt gave the guy the okay to make the teddy bear, right? Yeah, most of them are in rough shape and need restoration because the kids actually played with them. Wow, a kid playing with a doll.
Yeah, imagine that.
An original sold not long ago for $25,000.
Number 6 is the original Barbie. Like we said, we're staying away from the artificially expensive ones, but this Barbie is the first ever from 1959. She was marketed not as a Barbie, but as a teenage fashion model in a black and white bathing suit, and she's got blonde hair and blue eyeshadow. If you can find one in mint condition, she'll be worth about $27,000.
And number 5 is the Blue Ivy Barbie doll, and this is the epitome of people having too much fucking money.
Yeah.
Beyonce and Jay-Z commissioned this doll for their baby's first birthday, and it cost them $80,000. I don't think that would be worth anything to anybody else, but...
No, well, I'm sure their 1-year-old daughter really appreciated it.
And number 4 is the Steiff Titanic... the Steiff Titanic Morning Bear. Don't you have a Steiff bear?
I actually had 2 Steiff giraffes, but they were drowned in Asheville in the flood.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're here. We're doing the podcast. That's good. Right. These bears were created in the weeks after the Titanic, speaking of flood, sinking in the 1900s. You can only buy them in England, and only about 500 exist. At the time, they sold out overnight. They are one of the rarest and most collectible teddy bears in the world. A Titanic bear with the Steiff button still attached is worth about $136,000.
I wonder what my giraffes are dead, so.
Yeah.
Number 3 is the original G.I. Joe. The prototype G.I. Joe was made in 1963, and it's the model that all the other G.I. Joe models were based on. We don't know what it's worth today, but about 20 years ago, one of them sold on eBay for $200,000. So we're getting there. Number 2 is the Kammer and Reinhard lifelike doll. K&R dolls were made in the 1800s in Germany, and this one is a girl in the 1900s. It's the only one of its kind known to exist, and it sold at an auction for $400,000. So, again, there are more dolls out there that get even more ridiculous, into the millions. And it's true that they're rare, but the price is tied to the value of the jewelry and other stuff they come with.
Before we get to the most important doll of all, we want to give a mention to dollhouses, and one dollhouse in particular. It's called the Murder House. Frances Glesser Lee was the heiress to the International Harvester manufacturing fortune and a talented artist and criminologist who was into mysteries and medical text.
Lee started working in the New Hampshire Police Department on her way to becoming the police captain. Her husband was a medical examiner, so they'd sit around at home and talk about the crappy training standards for investigators that overlook or contaminate evidence at crime scenes. So in 1943, she started designing what she called nutshells to help the investigators. They were dollhouse-sized dioramas built to exacting standards of realism. She made other things for them like murder weapons and bodies, and she even hand-knit tiny stockings and tiny letters that she painted with a single hair brush. There was real tobacco and miniature cigarettes, realistic blood splatters, and the body's discoloration was even perfectly matched to real life.
Every element of these little houses would hold a clue to whether the crime scene was a murder, suicide, accidental, natural causes, and so on. If you paid close attention, you could solve the mystery with her clues. They were so good that they're still used today to train investigators. Lee built 19 of the houses, and one of them is missing. Wonder what that would be worth to a collector.
And that brings us to a real murder house. Our number one collectible has a terrible backstory, and one that loosely connects to the world of child beauty pageants. Unless you've been living under a rock at the bottom of the ocean for about the last 30 years, you have to have heard about the 1996 murder of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey in her home in Boulder, Colorado.
The press made a lot of noise about the fact that JonBenét had been in a lot of child pageants. Almost all the photos showed her literally dolled up with a face full of makeup. Images contrasted tragically with the way she died. The Boulder police found a long handwritten note in the home and initially suspected that it had been written by her mother, Patsy, and that the note and the appearance of the little girl's body had been staged by Patsy and her husband, JonBenét Ramsey, to cover up the killings.
When a policeman walked into the children's playroom area, he found a life-size Barbie doll standing next to one of the windows.
The murder is still unsolved. There's been lots of suspects over the years, including JonBenét's parents, and even some guys who confessed, but they turned out to be lying. We may never know what happened that night.
This is the most macabre question we've ever asked or will ever ask on this podcast. What would the Barbie doll that was found at JonBenét Ramsey's murder scene be worth to a doll collector, and what kind of person would want it in their collection?
That does it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening.
We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah, they should have had a video Barbie. We're going straight to hell.
We're just doing our jobs.
God. If you can't laugh, you'll cry.
Oh, I hope there's no life after death.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Taboo Treasures. If you got a creepy doll story and you want to share it with us, please reach out to us at tabootreasures@evocreative.com or message us at Taboo Treasures on Instagram and TikTok.
And if you want more deep cuts about music, film, and the legendary items tied to them, then join us each week on Taboo Treasures.
And don't forget to rate us on Apple Podcasts. It helps more weirdos like you find the show.
And hit that like button.
Bye. From EVO, Taboo Treasures is produced by Bruce Whitkin and Jeff Levine. Executive producer Brandon Morgan. Music by The Lonely Bulls.